Now, if you don't know what an automatic transfer switch does, what it basically does is it has the shore power here that comes in from the outside. And if that power ever goes out, then it can automatically switch over here to your generator power if you've got generator power over here. It's also got a delay over here. We've got a 20-second delay or an automatic switchover, and then this goes to your actual panel to start powering everything up. It does have a really nice little diagram explaining how everything works. Now, my situation right here, the way that I'm using it is probably unique, and I'm going to go through and put a longer video on how I end up using this and all the things that you're going to need to get one of these actually put in. So you made it here because you're probably wondering the exact same thing that I was when I first got my RV. Because I run a travel trailer, there's no space really underneath to run a generator like you find in some fifth wheels. So that kind of leaves our options for running things like the refrigerator and possibly even the air condition. Well, it didn't give us a whole lot of options because there is no way that I was going to run a generator to a cord like this and somehow run it to the truck. That wasn't an option. And yes, you can run the liquid propane to run your refrigerator. And listen, I've done it going down the road, but let's be honest, it's probably not the safest thing to run that going down the road because there is going to be the open flame. And where we travel a lot, there's a lot of bridges and also underground tunnels, and not supposed to run the propane inside of those tunnels. So I needed a different option. And one of my other concerns is that we take our dogs with us when we travel, and sometimes when we go out, I don't know if we're going to have a power loss. It literally just happened on one of our last trips where we lost power for about 2 hours. And if we were out and about and it was a 100-degree day, it was super hot, I wanted to be able to have an emergency backup to be able to run the air conditions while we were gone for those few hours. And something else I was concerned about is I wanted to be able to run this thing on the inside. That's why I went with the electric generator. I wanted to be able to connect it from the inside and not have to worry about somebody going to be taking it. Leaving the generator outside for just anybody to be able to grab, these things are crazy expensive, and I just wanted to make it so they'd have to get into the trailer in order to take it. The other generators that I do have a propane and a gas generator that we take out on some of the trips when we're boondocking. That's all fine and dandy. I can still run that almost as a shore power and then use the electric one on the inside as backup. Now, all of that has led me to where I am now. I've already got things opened up, but I've already come up with a plan in order to use this Jackery Explorer 3000 Pro because of the actual capacity of it, and I'm able to add additional capacity if I need to. Also, because this thing runs at 3,000 watts, I don't have to worry about the air condition and running the refrigerator and stuff like that. Now, obviously, everybody's setup is going to be a little bit different, and you know how much space you have and stuff like that. You might want to be able to mount it in here. I'm going to show you what's going to work for me. So I ended up picking up this affordable automatic transfer switch, and the difference between the automatic and the manual transfer switch is right here is going to be where the load or your shore power is going to come in. This is going to be your generator set power, and then this is going to go over to your panel to actually power the RV. And when it's showing shore power, it's going to switch over to shore power. Now, if the shore power gets unplugged or it loses power, it's going to automatically transfer over to the generator set. And as I'm going down the road or whatever, I'm going to have my generator turned on and plugged in. That way, when I do disconnect the power, we're going to be able to have emergency power backup. Now, it does give you the option to have a 20-second delay or an immediate switch. Because mine's electric and I don't have to wait for something to warm up, I'm going to go ahead and just have it be the automatic instant switch. The instructions are pretty straightforward. We've got our line coming in, which is going to be a 6-3 wire. This is going to be the existing wire from my 50 amp that was coming in from the plug on the outside, which you can see right here is at 6-3. That's going to get tied here where we've got our hot, our neutral, and our hot. And then we've got this one here. This is going to be from the generator set. Now what I ended up doing there was I grabbed another 50 amp plug. Even though this only has a 30 amp plug, I ended up getting 50 amp. That way I just future proofed it, got the 6.3, and then put some of the 6.3 wire on it. I've already got it stripped, ready to go in here. But what I'm end up going to use is one of these adapters. Now this adapter here is going to go into the 50 amp, and it's going to come out with a 30 amp here that I can use to plug in over here. Now if your little generator set doesn't have 30 amps, you could also do the 50 amps over here to the 20 amp. Now just know that if you're going to use this 20 amp, if depending on your generator set, it's going to be like this one is 20 amps. So if 20 amp runs 2,000 watts, that's just the easier math. If it was 15 amp, it would run 1,500 watts. Now the 30 amp up here actually runs on two different circuits. So it's not just 3,000 watts, it's 3,000 times 2. So that plug there is going to give us 3,000 watts. Now these generators run on one phase. So that 30 amp plug is only going to put out 3,000 watts. Now if it was on your shore power where you have two phases coming into it, it would hold up to 6,000 watts. But in this case, this little generator set has a capacity of 3,000. That's going to be as much as you can put in for your load. And when I checked earlier, my air conditioner was running at 1,800 watts and the refrigerator was running at about 800 watts. So I was kind of maxing it out with the refrigerator and the air conditioner. I can't really run anything else. So even though my AC, I think starting, it's around 1,800 watts to get the AC started, and then it runs less. So technically, I have run my air conditioner off of 20 amp before. You would just have to turn off the converter and probably turn off a couple of the breakers to make sure that you don't have anything else plugged in. But the 30 amp is going to work way better if you have that capability. Now for ease of use here, this door does just pop right off. And I'm going to go ahead and put it in here, and I'm going to mount it up through the sides. It does have these tabs here, but I'm not going to use them. I'm going to end up modifying and putting in some holes up here and on the sides. And I'm going to build something where this thing sits on the inside pretty much flush, where the wood sits right here with the hinges. That way it ends up looking like this. Now there's going to be like a little gap on the sides on mine. I was going to fill it with wood. I'm just going to leave the gap, and I'm going to end up cutting a piece of 1/2-inch plywood to go under here. And that's going to be not only my support, I'll have 2 screws, kind of like what they did on the main piece here. I'm going to use that as not only my support, but that's going to mount this piece down here. So this will be up underneath in the middle, and that 1/2-inch plywood will also be the support to hold this as you push things in and take things back out. Now outside of the automatic transfer switch, the 50 amp plug-in, your 6.3 cable, which you're going to need depending on your application. I ended up using almost 10 feet. You're also going to need 3 of these service entry things here. Now because the knockouts on that box were so tight, I ended up going with the biggest hole, which was 1.25 inches. So go ahead and look for those for your service entry connections. You're going to need some screwdrivers, some electrical clients, screwdrivers. In my case, I'm also going to need a multi-master because I end up having to cut a little bit bigger hole for my wires coming up here. And I also bought some stain. It doesn't look like it, but on the actual test pieces, this stain matched this. So on my little 1/2-inch plywood piece here, I'm going to stain to match. That way everything looks kind of factory. Now it should go without saying that you need to disconnect the power. And in this case, I would disconnect the power source directly and just unplug it from the trailer outside. Once you've got it unplugged, that wire that came from that source where you plugged it into the side of the trailer is going to come right here to the 50 amp breakers. You might have a 30 amp breaker system in your trailer. Mine happens to be the upgraded 50, which I like better, and it just kind of future proofs it. But if you can always make this conversion for a 30 amp too, it's no problem. So we're going to disconnect those 2 lines, your black and your red. Those are your power lines. And then you're going to disconnect your neutral as well as your ground. And then that line coming up is eventually going to come in here and be your shore power. So it's going to come through that one here where we're going to connect our black, our white, our red, and then our neutrals over here. And then we're going to do the same thing with the generator set with our black, our white, our red, our neutral over here. And then we're going to come with a brand new line that goes from here up back into here to retie in this panel. Before I get everything set up, I'm going to go ahead and make my plywood piece that's going to go on the underside and get that cut out and kind of stained. And one of the things I am going to have to do that's kind of funny is the handle down here, it's going to go deeper in. So I'm going to end up putting like a little U piece at the top. That way I can get my finger in and unlock it and get this thing locked easily. I'm going to go ahead and make my marks and make my cut with my track saw. Now if you don't have a track saw, you can use a hand saw, you can use skill saw, you can use a table saw, whatever it is you have. This is just easy for me, it's something I have, so that's what I'm going to use. Alright, before I clean up and put everything away, I've got the power from here going all the way up and into here, which is powering the actual RV itself. Here is going to be the shore power, which is where the plug is outside, and this is the plug for the actual generator set right here. I've got it temporarily just kind of set into place. Don't worry about the crazy connections I got going on. That was just to try and make it a little bit longer so I didn't have to move it. But I've got the AC running right now, which is running at 1800 watts right now, and it's running just fine. And you can also see that the generator is running. It's got a little gen set that it's running. I have it set as to instantly kick on. As soon as I kick the power on, it was able to power the rest of the RV. Make sure to get all that paper and stuff out of there. I don't know why a piece of trash fell in there. Alright, we're going to go ahead and get this thing tested out. Right now we're running on shore power and I've got the battery. Battery's kind of low on here, but we're going to go ahead and get this thing tested. Right now I do have it set up on the 20-second delay, and I just had my son go out there to go shut off the breaker, so we may have to wait. Alright, he just turned the power off, so we should have that 20-second delay. We're about 4 or 5 seconds in. So it's now picked up that the generator is giving power, and it should transfer over. Now we're over on generator power. It did it all automatically. So now I've got the AC rolling, so it's running at 1800 watts and it's rocking and rolling. Alright, here's what it's looking like all finished up. This thing's in there. We've got that little piece down here. And this was the part I was telling you about, so I could get my hand in here and be able to unlock this and go ahead and get that locked. So I ended up having to make that little access panel. But we're running pretty good.